Okay, good morning everyone, and Chazak, Baruch, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday morning as we are studying together Parashat Terumah, and today's class is sponsored anonymously for the Refuah Shlema of all of Am Yisrael, for the safety of our soldiers, for the protection of Am Yisrael, for the return of our hostages, Be'ezrat Hashem, Amen. Hashem should bless our anonymous sponsor with all of the blessings of the Torah as well. Thank you so much for your dedication. And as well, everybody, make sure that you are smiling because we are in the month of Adar. Mishum Nichnas Adar, Marbim Besimha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh baro. Okay, my friends. So here we have Parashat Terumah. And now Parashat, of course, Terumah means a donation. It means literally to raise, to pick up, leharim. I'm supposed to pick up money from my pocket and bring it to Hashem as a donation. But as well, sorry, I just gotta fix that symmetry over there. Okay, so our parasha then lists, besides for the donations that we had to make to the Beit HaMikdash to build the Mishkan, to build the house of God, which we spoke about yesterday, all of the materials that the people had to donate. But then the pasuk goes on and it tells us what we need to build. Besides for the building, it is furniture. And we know the furniture. The furniture, there was the Aron, the Holy Ark, that Indiana Jones found. And then we had the menorah. And then we had the shulchan. And then we had the, everything, the mizbeach, the kiyor, everything that was inside is all commanded in this week's parasha. And if you open up to chapter 25, pasuk 10, let's go to the beginning. What was the first keli? What was the first furniture that was commanded to build? The pasuk says, Ve'asu Aron Atzei Shitim. Okay? God says you shall build an ark made out of wood. Okay? A special type of wood, acacia wood. And amatayim v'chetzi orko, ama v'chetzi rohbo. Its dimensions were this, by that, and this high. And it should be plated with gold from inside, from outside. There should be zer zahav saviv. There should be a little crown all around it. Okay? You should put 4 rings on the corners so that you could put poles and carry the Aron. Okay? This is all very detailed commandments of how to build the Mishkan. Then it goes on to the next one. The Aron. Then it goes on to the covering, the kaporet. It should also be kaporet, and there should be the 2 angels on top of it. And then it goes on to the next vessel. So on and so forth. Okay, the shulchan. And if you're reading with me in the text, you'll notice that the wording is directed in the singular. Ve'asita, ve'asita, va'aseh, ve'asita, you shall make, singular, you shall make. There is one exception, and that is right in the beginning. The beginning says, ve'asu Aron atzei shitim. They shall make an Aron. They shall make an Aron of atzei shitim. And the question is, why does it begin with the why does it speak always of singular, but then it says they in the plural? Okay, this is going to be the question of the Ora Hayim HaKadosh. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to see today. Okay. Now the truth is that the Midrash already gives an answer. Okay, the Midrash says that the entire nation, ve'asu, let's read the question first from the Ora Hayim. Ta'am shebe'aron shina Hashem et devaro atov mikol ha'kelim. The reason that Hashem shifted his language in the Aron from all the other vessels, shebekulam amar ve'asita shulhan. When it comes to the other vessels, it says singular, you shall make, singular, ve'asita, or the menorah, ve'asita, et hamishkan ta'aseh, singular, ve'asita, singular, mizbeach atzeh shitim. Okay, he gives many examples. Ve'tzipita, singular, ve'yatzakta, singular, ve'asita badei, singular. So over here, it's all written in singular commandment, except for the beginning, ve'asu, plural, make an Aron in plural. Why? Now the Midrash explains that it was plural because the entire nation had to participate in the manufacture of the Aron, so that everyone has a piece of Torah. Everyone deserves to have a share in Torah. There's a famous story that one time the Hafetz Chaim was collecting for the yeshiva, and he went to a certain man who was ready to give him the money, the funds, to donate, to sponsor the entire year of learning. Whatever he was collecting for, whether it was the building or whatever it was. There was a man who offered to pay for it full on the spot. And the Hafetz Chaim said, thank you, but I have to politely decline your offer. I cannot take all of the money from you. And the man said, that's absurd. I never heard a person say such a thing. And the Hafetz Chaim explained that Torah is not something that you're supporting. You're not supporting Torah. Torah is you getting your support. Torah supports you. When a person sponsors Torah, really we have to realize that we're actually paying for ourselves. We're ensuring our own safety, protection, lifeline. Torah is a life vest. When you support Torah, it's actually not you, you're not helping it, it's helping you. It's an opportunity. It's a person who's buying, right? You're buying your own life vest. That's what you're doing. And the Hafetz Chaim said to this man, everyone deserves a piece of that. If you pay for the whole thing, no one else is going to be left with a chance. Everyone needs to be connected to Torah, even if it's $1, $100, whatever it is. But therefore, I cannot accept that you should pay for the entire thing. I have to give everyone in the town a fair, equal chance. This is the hashkafa, this is the mentality, this is the outlook that the tzaddikim had on Torah. They understood that it's something that we all need to be connected to. It's a tree of life. It's like we said yesterday, it's a log that's floating in this dangerous storm of an ocean. And you better grab onto that log if you want to survive. That's the midrash of why it says ve'asu, plural. Everyone needs to be connected to the Torah. The Or Hayim is going to give a slightly different answer. He gives actually 3 answers, and let us see one by one. Ulai shiremazo. Maybe over here God is hinting. She'en gufa shel Torah yachol lehitkayem ela bechlalut kol Yisrael. Says the Or Hayim. You know why it says ve'asu in plural when it comes to the Aron? Because the Aron, which represents the Torah, we know that every keli, every vessel, was not only its vessel, but it also represented something much bigger. As an example, the Shulchan represented food and sustenance and parnasah, and the menorah represented spirituality, light, and Aron represents Torah. And the Or Hayim writes, "En gufa shel Torah, it is impossible for all 613 lehitkayem ela bechlalut kol Yisrael. You cannot do all the mitzvot by one person alone. You need all the people together to do all 613. I know we speak about the 613 all the time, but the truth is the Or Hayim is teaching us that one person cannot do all 613 by himself. It's impossible. En metziut ba'olam yachol asot kol krei Torah. There's no being that can physically do all of them by themselves. Why? Imhu kohen. If you're a kohen, then you cannot do the 24 gifts that you should give to a kohen, because you're a kohen receiving them. So you have already here so many mitzvot that you can't do, because many mitzvot are done by a Yisrael giving to the kohen. Upidyon, the pidyon, if you're a kohen, you can't do a pidyon on your son. Right? We know if you have a firstborn son, that's without complications or C-section, without previous miscarriage, if both parents are Yisrael, etc. So you see that the parents have to be a Yisrael. If the father's a kohen, he's out. Now, what if you're Yisrael? You also can't do all 613. You cannot bring korbanot. Some of the 613 are bringing sacrifices. All the details. And if you're a Levi, you're also Levi also cannot do all 613. Therefore, just that alone, you need other Jews to fulfill the whole Torah. Ubechlalut kol Yisrael, when everyone's together, yikaimu klalut ikarei haTorah. Now together, you could do all 613. And therefore God says, ve'asu. Now Hashem says, plural, you shall make the Aron. He's hinting to the fact that together we can make a full Aron, i.e. Torah. Together we can fulfill all 613. Now, bishar pratet tikunei Aron, when it came to the details of the Aron, then he gave individual. You shall make the rings. You shall make the poles. You shall make the crown going around it. Singular. Why? Ki letaken kelei haTorah, because fashioning the instruments of the Torah, shehem lomdeha v'amaleh v'achanoteha, i.e., those who study it, or those who toil in it, or those who provide it parnasa, the supporters of the Torah, that could be fulfilled from one person. One person could learn. One person could support. But to do all 613 mitzvot, you cannot do one person alone. And therefore the Torah is hinting to this. And it says in the plural, ve'asu aron atzei shetim. Is that a beautiful answer, my friends? This reminds me of something that I heard many, many years ago. A beautiful hidush. On the famous story in the Gemara, please turn to Masechet Shabbat. Masechet Shabbat, page 31, tells us about the patience of Hillel. And it tells us the following. Shuv ma'aseh begoy ehad. Story of a non-Jew. Sheba lifnei Shammai. He came to Shammai. Amar lo gayereni al menat shetelemedeni kol haTorah kula kshani omed al regel ahat. He said to Shammai, I want you to teach me the whole Torah al regel ahat. I want to learn it all, but I want to be standing on one foot. Okay? What would you say if someone came to you with this request? If you were a rabbi of conversion. Tehafo be'amat binyan shebeyado. Shammai had no patience for this joke, this clown. What kind of disrespect. Imagine going to a professor in Harvard and saying, I want you to teach me all of rocket science in one day. Right? You kick you out. He won't even look at you. You're a fool. You want to learn Torah in one day, on one leg? Get out of here. So Shammai realizes this guy's a joke, kicks him out. Balifnei Hillel, he came to Hillel. Gayare. Hillel converted him. How do you convert a guy on one leg, on one day? What teaching could you tell him that could really be all taught in one leg? Amar lo, he said to him, Da'alach seneh lehavrach la ta'aved. He said to the non-Jew, you ready? The whole Torah I could really put on one foot, on one law. Whatever you don't want to be done to you, don't do to others. That's the Torah basically. Zohi kol haTorah kula. That is the whole Torah, my friend. Ve'idach, and the rest of it, perusha hi. It's only elaboration. Zil gemor, go and learn. The rest of it is explanation. Go and learn. So this is the story of a man that converted because of Hillel's patience. And on a simple level, it seems like a nice story to show you the patience. But the story is actually much deeper than it's written. And really there's much literature explaining the depth of this story, many different commentaries. And we've quoted this story in the past, giving many different interpretations. But I want to share with you today a new idea based on the Or HaHaim that we just read. You see, the non-Jew is coming and he has a request. He wants to be converted al regel ahat. What does that mean, regel ahat? That means that he wants to convert. What kind of request is that? One leg? Whoever asked that? It's silly. Why does he care to be converted on one leg? Why can't he do it on two legs? What he really wanted is that this goy, he wanted to be Jewish, and he's asking a very deep question. He's saying, I want to come, I want to be Jewish, but I want to do it all right. I want to do it al regel ahat. I want to do it one time. I want to be able to keep all the Torah. I want to keep the whole Torah. You know, a Jew, every mitzvah is a light. It's a light bulb. Could you imagine just 613 light bulbs to the soul? And every mitzvah that we do, we're turning on another light bulb. And the person's goal is to get to the next world with all 613. The problem is that this goy comes with a question. He says, I know the Or HaHaim. And the Or HaHaim says you can't do all 613. If you're a Kohen, then you can't do some of them. If you're Yisrael, you can't do some of them. If you're a man, you can't do some of them. If you're a woman, you can't do some of them. If you live in Israel, you can't do some of them. If you live out of Israel, you can't do some of them. If you're a Levi. So there's no physical way to do all 613. Now, how do the rabbis address this question? How do we do all 613? And there's different ways of doing 613. Right? There's different ways of accomplishing all 613. The simplest way is like the Or HaHaim said, by being part of the Jewish people. If I'm part of the Jews, then I'm you and you're me. And you keep Kohen stuff and I'll keep Yisrael stuff. And together, we're one. But for me, right, just like if my hand puts tefillin, I don't say my hand put tefillin, I say I put tefillin. My body, put tefillin. My head, my eyes, we're all one. So my hand gets reward, but also my body gets a piece of my everything. It's all one unit. So the Or HaHaim is saying that together, ve'asu aron atzeh shitim. Together we could all fill 613. But the truth is, my friends, that's not really accurate. Because besides for all the, even if all the Jews do all 613, there are many ways that today you can't do all 613. Even all the Jews combined. There's many mitzvot that don't apply today. They applied only with the Beit HaMikdash. So even if there's a Kohen and a Yisrael together and we're friends and we divide the mitzvot amongst us, but we're still some that we're not going to be able to complete. So how do we do those mitzvot? How do we do mitzvot that are not really today practical? So there are two answers on this. Answer one is something called gilgul. Okay, this is in English reincarnation. There is many poskim that, and this is the mainstream consensus, is that there is such a concept as a gilgul, as coming back down as a reincarnation. It's brought down by many Rishonim. The Arizal has books just on gilgulim. The idea of a gilgul is that you were once in a previous life, your soul was in a different body, and because your soul didn't complete all the mitzvot, you had to come back down a second time, and a third time. And according to the Arizal, we're all gilgulim today, right? We're all gilgulim today, and this is another way of doing the 613. I lived in one lifetime, I was doing that mitzvah, and now I do another mitzvah, and then the next lifetime I could do. So in that way, you could do all the 613. And there's one more way to do all 613, and that is by learning Torah. When I learn about korbanot, it's like I did korbanot, even without doing it. But learning it, we say in the prayers, unchalema parim sefatenu. That means let my mouth be as if I brought bullocks. My prayer, my learning, is considered doing. So when I learn about Shemitah, it's like I kept Shemitah, even if I'm not a farmer. So here are three ways, my friends, of fulfilling all 613 mitzvot. By learning about them, by coming down again and again as a gilgul of reincarnation, and by having a tremendous amount of Ahavat Yisrael. And this non-Jew, look at the story now, and we can read the story in a completely new light. The non-Jew comes and he asks, I want to convert regel achat. Regel doesn't only mean foot. Regel also means time. I want to convert, but I want to convert and I want to do it all one time. I don't want to have to come back again and again and again. Gilgul, gilgul, gilgul. I don't want none of that. I want to do it regel achat. I want to come down once and I want to do it right. How do I do that? And Hillel gives him two pieces of advice, and he says, number one, what you don't want to be done to you, don't do to other people. That means you got to start having Ahavat Yisrael. You got to attach yourself to the Jewish people. Because now by attaching yourself, now the farmer and the Kohen and the Levi and the girl and the guy in Israel and everyone, now we're all one. And when we're all one, your mitzvah comes to me, my mitzvah goes to you, and we share in the 613. But then he says, but there are some that even if we're dividing it up, we're still not going to be able to do. Because why? We don't have korbanot today. No one's doing korbanot. Even the Kohen's not doing it. So now what do I do? So says Hillel, and he ends off with this beautiful line, and he says, Ve'idach, and the rest that you can't do today. Zil gemor. Go and learn them. By learning about the mitzvot, by learning Torah, that's how you can fulfill the remainder of the 613. But either way, this is what the Or HaHaim is saying. Ve'asu aron atzei shitim. Ve'asu means plural. We, when we're together. What does that mean to be together? Together means, my friends, that we have to start learning to see other people in a beautiful way. Everyone has ma'alot and hisronot. Everyone has good and bad. That's the fact. The people that you don't like, there's good stuff to them. You may not choose to see them. They may be very little. They may be hard to see. But everyone has good and everyone has bad. And part of loving people means learning to focus on the good. This is called positivity. And there's a book that I strongly encourage. If there's a takeaway that you take from my class today, get yourself this book right here. Okay? Positivity Bias. Okay, get this book, written by Mendel Kalmanson, Rav Mendel Kalmanson. It's a book based on the teachings and the life of the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe who passed away, the most recent one. And it's a book on all of just seeing life in a positive way. And the Rebbe, he would always do this. This was his mission in life. Seeing someone, he would always speak positively, he would always encourage, he would always build. He wouldn't even use negative words. He would always use positive words. We saw yesterday, we're studying the book every morning, and you saw yesterday, he wouldn't even say Bet Cholim. Why calling it a hospital? Bet Cholim in Hebrew, a sick place. No, Bet Refuah, it's a healing place. He wouldn't use deadline, because deadline has the word, dead. He would use due date, because due date means due, birth. Just little words, but it's training ourselves to be positive, to be upbeat, to be optimistic, to see people in a positive way, to see myself in a positive way, to see the positive opportunity of life. Unbelievable. So everyone that I see, I could choose to see somebody who's rotten, who's selfish, who's stubborn. There was a boy, he wrote a comic. He was a 7th grader. He wrote a comic about he decided to make jokes for school to get a lot of viewers on his comic book that he wrote for his class. And he wrote something that was a little bit disrespectful about Chabad and about, aliens, and I don't know what he wrote. Anyways, the Rebbe, when it was put on his desk and he read what a 7th grader wrote disrespectfully, the Rebbe didn't mention anything about the article. He wrote how the kid is very talented. He said how a person has to use their talents for Hashem, for the Jewish people. And many years later, this boy ended up, taking that message to heart. And he ended up really writing beautiful articles on behalf of Klal Yisrael. But this came only because the Rebbe saw in a kid, not a disrespectful kid. He saw in the kid a talented kid. We have to see in people the beauty. Even the bad things, there's something beautiful there. When Rabbi Yochanan was swimming in the lake, and Resh Lakish, the bandit at the time, he was a robber, he jumped in the lake thinking Rabbi Yochanan was a girl, and he was trying to go fishing, if you understand what I'm saying. And he was trying to, get on a date with Rabbi Yochanan. And then he gets there and he sees it's a guy. He's like, oh, sorry. My bad. See you later. Have a nice day. What did Rabbi Yochanan say to Resh Lakish? He didn't tell him, you pervert. You just care about sick things. You're just going to look for girls. He didn't say that. You know what he said to him? He said to Resh Lakish, wow. You have strength, my friend. Look at that dive. That was a sick dive. We could use strength like you in the synagogue. You know what I mean? You're a strong guy. Good for you. Chelcha leoraita. Wow. You should use your strength for Torah, Bezat Hashem. Gave him a blessing. He found out what's good. He didn't see a pervert. He saw a strong person. With dedication, all we have to do is just rechannel. You could accomplish amazing things. And so how do we see the people around us, my friends? How do we see those that we don't like? Those that irk us? Those that we're a little bit jealous of or envious of? Whatever the case is, we have to learn to see positivity. We have to learn to see beautiful things. So this is the message of the Ora Haim. The way I attach myself to Klal Yisrael is by loving Klal Yisrael. And when we're together, then ve'asu aron atzei shitim. Then we could keep all 613 ve'asu in the plural. Od, another answer. Lefi ma she'amru ki aron etz asa Moshe. Another answer, and this is the last answer we'll see. He says, actually, I don't know if you knew this, and it's good that we're learning the Ora Haim because we find out a lot of things that we never knew before, right? That's what we're here to learn. It says over here that Aron etz asa Moshe. That means that before Betzalel made his Aron, the famous Aron that went in the Beit HaMikdash, or the Holy of Holies, Moshe made his own wooden Aron. What for? Asa sham haluchot techef beyiridato minahar. He placed the luchot that he got the second time around, he placed them, if you think about it, when Moshe came down with the tablets, where did he put them? The the Mishkan wasn't built for another 6 months. In the meantime, where did the tablets go? You ever thought about that? Says the Ora Hayim, based on the Gemara, in the Terumah, that actually Moshe made his own Aron beforehand, a temporary ark, a temporary closet. And they stayed in his until they were transferred to the one that Betzalel made, that they were kept in there forever. Wow, that's a Hidush. Didn't know that. There were 2 arks now. There was the temporary Moshe one, and there was the permanent Betzalel one. And so it says in Perashat Ekev, in Devarim, Ve'asita lecha aron etz. It says God told Moshe when he came down from the mountain, you shall make a wooden aron for yourself. Dikdek lomar lecha. And God was precise in saying lecha for yourself. Perusho, meaning, in Perush ve'asita kishar ve'asita asher siviticha k'maaseh mishkan. Meaning, Hashem was telling Moshe that when he said, and you shall make Aron, our pasuk, ve'asita, right? He wasn't saying that you shall make, just like the other times that I commanded you that you shall make. When it said the other times, by the shulchan, ve'asita shulchan, or ve'asita menorah, or ve'asita mizbeach. Right? Really, what did it mean over there? Not that you, Moshe, should make it. Rather, it means Betzalel. You should just be on top, overseeing it. But really, you're not going to be the one to make it. Betzalel is going to make it. However, when it comes to the Aron, but when it comes to the Aron, there's a special commandment that you, Moshe, should make your own Aron. And he did this. It says in Devarim, Moshe said, I made an Aron. Really? You made an Aron? Betzalel made the Aron. But really, Betzalel made his Aron. But Moshe made his own Aron. This is, my friends, a novelty. Moshe made his own ark, made out of wood, and he put the luchot there temporarily until Betzalel built his Aron. That's introduction. Okay? So we have 2 Arons. And what comes out from all of this, by the way, if we could just create a timeline now, take a look. Moshe went up to the mountain for 40 days, right? And he commanded Moshe at some point in those 40 days to make a Mishkan and all the artifacts. Okay? He comes down on the 17th of Tammuz, and what does he find? He finds the Egel. So God calls him for another 40 days, and he goes up and pleads for forgiveness on behalf of the Jewish people. At the end of those 40 days, right? Hashem commanded Moshe to carve out the second set of luchot and make a wooden ark for himself. On that very day, Moshe made the Aron, carved out the second tablets, and he came up the mountain for the 3rd and final time. So Moshe went up for 40 days. He came down, he saw the Egel. He went up for another 40 days asking forgiveness. God said, okay, come up with your own tablets and make your own ark. And he did. He came up with his own tablets for the last 40 days. And on those last 40 days, he was forgiven. Yom Kippur. Hashem engraved those tablets. Moshe came down and he placed those tablets inside the Aron that he made on Yom Kippur when he came down the next day. And then the Mishkan was built. It took a few months. And then when it was completed, Moshe transferred his luchot from his Aron to Betzalel's Aron, to the main Aron that was in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Mishkan. Okay? So, this is an introduction. Now, how does it answer our question? We asked, why does it say plural, ve'asu? And then it goes to singular, ve'asita. Explains Ora Hayim beautifully. Asher al ken amar kan ve'asu. Now that we know that there were 2 tablets, 2 Arons, so milvad ma sheta'aseh ata shehu lefi sha'ah. Besides for the personal Aron that you're going to make, Moshe, od ya'asu ha'osim, ya'asu, they should make also their own Aron, the main one that's going to go inside the Mishkan. U'michnaseh netvat ha'mishkan, it should come from the people's own money. And that's why God had to switch the language to ve'asu plural. Im haya omer ve'asita, because if he would have stuck to the singular, ve'asita, Moshe would have maybe thought that this was God telling him to make that aron that he told him later on to make, that was his personal aron, that it should come from his own money. And therefore, Gam et zeh yeh hadavar ken, Moshe would have thought that the ve'asita was talking about his own. Lazeh amar lo kenu. Therefore God had to clarify and say, no, Moshe, you have to have your own, but that's not the same commandment as what I'm telling you now. Ve'asu. And therefore he said plural, that it should be a mishkan made from their money, not to be confused by the aron that was going to be made from your money. So these are the two answers of the Ora Hayim. Again, one, a very technical answer, that there's going to be confusion. So to avoid confusion, God says plural, ve'asu, indicating that it has to come from the communal funds, that has to be made from the people's money, that it's Betzalel's aron that he's going to build on behalf of the nation. And there's also Moshe's private aron that he built with his own. That's a technical answer. But also a deeper answer, Ora Hayim is telling us, ve'asu, my friends. We could all, together, we could keep the Torah. But that comes with togetherness. That comes with forgiveness. That comes with getting rid of jealousy, animosity, revenge, holding grudges. That's all, that severs me from Klal Yisrael. That cuts me off from the Jewish people. When I have love and ahava, by developing a positive outlook on people, then I will be able to connect, to have achdut, and to be a complete human being, a complete Jew. We'll stop over here, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.